Hi, this is Ryan at xcannabis.com. I just wanted to comment. I got somebody's feelings hurt because I use content from their video. I do this a lot. This is what reporters do. If you look at pretty much any news station, you'll see where they take a clip here and a clip there, and they'll put together their own story out of public media. And that's what this Fair Use Act in America was made for. It was made to complement the First Amendment, which is something I was trying to promote about Roger Christie and his religious freedom. And so I want to just kind of take a couple of clips out of what I did, and I gave full credit for this. I just wanted to kind of re-document this because I have a message to say. This isn't the same message that Roger Christie and Paul Van Hartmann were saying, because this is something unique to me. This is something I feel strongly about. Long before I ever heard of Roger Christie, I was very into faith and Christ and spiritual sacraments. And then I met up with Roger Christie's videos that other people had reproduced and put on the internet, and got his message out there. And so I started commenting on what I thought about this cannabism and this religious sacrament from Christianity. And so that's what I was doing here. So I just wanted to kind of touch up on it. I'm not going to use a lot of anybody else's content here because I'm not trying to hurt feelings or get in trouble with anybody. But this is it right here. I write about it. I say, I speak about Roger Christie and the Green 14 in Hawaii who are being punished and excluded for their religion. This is tyranny to have men and women locked up without bail and without trial for a sacred and safe plant. I took a clip from this video of both Roger Christie and Paul Van Hartmann demonstrating Roger Christie's dedication and sovereign spirit all the way back in 1992. I offer prayers and blessings to this wonderful freedom fighter. Please support Roger at thc-ministry.com and the-last-marijuana-trial.com. And I'm just going to play a little bit here because this was my point here. I was commenting on the video that was made public because I think it's an important public issue and something important to everybody's freedom. So we'll just go ahead and
It is September 14th, 2011, and I'm still mourning the loss of a great activist who is locked away as a POW in prison without bail, without trial, Roger Christie. And I have to lift him up, and I have to, kind of think about what's going on in the movement right now. And I just see a lot of exclusion and isolation in the movement, and I think that it's really sad. I think that, excluding Christians from the movement and isolating, people who would otherwise participate and help, I think is not good for the voting public who sees this, and not good for numbers at the polls, and not good for numbers at the voting ballots. I think that including people, everybody, is the better way to go. I think when we for example, if we look at Rastafari, it's a very Christ-based religion. Some believe that Haile Selassie is second coming of Christ, or God incarnate. Either way, it's very biblically based, and it is one of the catalysts for this movement. Before there was Normal, before there was MPP, before there was a lot of these big organizations, it was the Rastafarians that was really pushing this movement then. And if we look back in history, and you can look at Roger Christie's videos or other people, you can go and find a book called The Living Torah by Area Kaplan, and that is a book that you can find how cannabis and Christianity and cannabis and ancient Israelites are connected. And in Exodus 30:23, you'll see the cannabis sacrament called cannabism. Cannabism, it's the Hebrew word for cannabis, and many scholars who don't even use cannabis and never have declared that cannabis and cannabism are one and the same. In English, it's translated in the Bible as fragrant cane, but in Hebrew, it's called cannabism. So to exclude Christians or try to push them away, and if we talk about Roger Christie, we can look at Normal and we can see many negative articles articles about Roger Christie and very, very little support for him in his struggle to be free out in Hawaii, where he's been, like I said, he's been locked up for over a year without bail, without trial. And
anyway, so that goes on, and you know, there's a lot of things I wanted to say there, but this is mainly just to define what I think journalism is about. And you know, this was a public video that I found, and I posted the link on it. I just wanted to take you there because this is a great video. This shows Roger's spirit, Roger's, you know, his whole persona and what he's about and what he's been doing for, you know, 25 years. And that's why I posted this. It wasn't to steal content, it wasn't to hurt anybody, it wasn't to, you know, misrepresent. But you can find that on YouTube at Project Peace. You can see it up here. Project Peace, youtube.com/Project Peace. And the video's title is, let me just pull this up here. Essential Cannabis, Planting Publicly on Maui, Hawaii, 1992. Got to congratulate these freedom fighters for standing up for their freedom, both Paul Van Hartmann and Roger Christie. You can see it kind of starts out like a news broadcast. And you know, a lot of news reporters, a lot of journalists, a lot of media outlets will report this way, and they'll say, hey, we found this clip, and this is something that I think is, you know, valuable to this story, and blah, blah, blah. And so I just wanted to also show you a video about the Fair Use Act, which is very important so that we can get messages out so they're not buried. You know, that's the thing, is that, you know, messages that are very important out there get buried by public and corporate media. You know, like, for example, Ron Paul is really leading a lot of these debates, and he gets very little media. And it's because of social media like this that we can get the word out. And so that was my point, is to get the word out. So just check this out about the Fair Use Act. 7 minutes long. It's a great topic to, you know, really define what we're talking about here.
What I'm so excited about today is not only who's in the room and who's a part of this, but also who will be in the room and who will be a part of this.
The filmmakers have taken charge of their own destiny and created this statement.
First, I just want to kiss this movie.
I think I must have died and gone to independent filmmaker heaven.
For the first time, I'll be able to say there is something that you can read.
We can actually really take a stronger stand and defend our rights as filmmakers.
Who owns our history?
This is fair use.
Copyright is not an absolute right, but a conditional one. In our country, under our laws and our Constitution, copyright exists for one purpose and one purpose only: to promote the progress of science and useful arts. Art doesn't come from nowhere. Cultural progress depends on the ability of artists to make reasonable use of pre-existing material, and that includes copyrighted material. This is especially true today for filmmakers who operate in a media-saturated environment. In order to be able to comment on that environment, in order to be able even to depict that environment, they need reasonable access to other people's copyrighted material. Fair use in copyright law exists to assure that that access continues to be available. And it exists for another reason as well. Out of hand, copyright can become an instrument of censorship, not official censorship, but private censorship. And fair use is a safeguard against such misuse of copyright.
People are just scared to use fair use. I know that I was scared away from using it. You know, with my first film, I Am a Man, which also uses a lot of images from popular culture, taking a look at, you know, black masculinity, you know, lawyers, you know, would scare me and say, you know, you can't, fair, this does qualify for fair use, but I wouldn't use it if I were you.
And that's really when I started to act as though fair use does not exist. Because every time I've tried to think it did, I would be, you know, surprised by some, you know, incidental piece of music in a scene that the lawyers got worried about, errors and omissions insurance people got concerned about, or a client got concerned about.
Intimidation in the clearance culture doesn't come in the form of a jackbooted thug knocking on your door. It comes in. It's a way of looking at the material. It's becomes a lens through which you look at all of the elements of your story. Everything becomes about, can I clear the rights for this particular image before even deciding whether it's worth using in the story.
When documentary filmmakers just had to guess about what was appropriate application of fair use, they were putting themselves at risk. What if they guessed wrong? What they really needed to know was what their community felt, and particularly the professional, the veterans, the people who have some experience. And what we found when we talked to members of 5 different filmmaker organizations across the country was that there was remarkable consensus among professional filmmakers who had 2 films nationally distributed about what was appropriate and reasonable application of this statute. And the result is the documentary filmmakers' statement of best practices in fair use.
Susan, it's probably the most frivolous issue of all, but how many women, or is there any way of knowing how many women, vote for a male candidate because they find him attractive?
I think what you can't do is play down to teenagers, play down to the young people. No teenager is going to be satisfied with a PG-13 rated horror film.
But it was Rove the tactician who caught the eye of the CBS News White House correspondent, Dan Rather.
Down in the basement of party headquarters is the operation main.
The statement of best practices is going to be useful as guidance for filmmakers and for gatekeepers, broadcasters, distributors, and others. And if one of these controversies should ever find its way to court, it'll be useful there as well. When courts decide fair use issues, they reach out for information about what's considered to be reasonable practice in the field.
Anyway, this isn't about court, this isn't about legalities, this is just about the First Amendment, this is about being able to share media, this is about being able to document history and to, broadcast a message. And it may be a message that is important to the community. It may not be my message specifically, but it may be just that the message is important to the world, and to limit it to just one broadcaster or to limit it to just one source and not spread it, massively is really a problem of getting a message out. And that's why I put the links, in the video. You can see here that will take you there. In the description of the video, you can see, this isn't my video, and I didn't claim that it was, but I did give a link so that people could see the video in its full context. Because the video in itself is great from start to finish. It's a great documentation of history and of this freedom fighter, Roger Christie. So that's all this was. Free Roger, that's all I got to say about this anymore. And, let's protect our freedom of speech, as well as, every other right under the First Amendment, including freedom of religion. And that's what this video was all about. So thanks for tuning in. I'm probably going to remove this video. I don't want to cause strife between good activists out there and myself. I want to, try to keep a good balance out there. But I do think this message is important, and I hope people see it. So thanks for tuning in. Peace.